Hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode number 129. I'm Emily McDermott, and I am here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. As summer is about to start, many of you have been coming into the free Facebook group at tinyurl.com/moms overcoming overwhelm and saying, help, help me, Emily. I want to declutter because these kids are at home and they're driving me nuts. And maybe you need some extra motivation to get back on track on your decluttering journey. In today's episode, I am going to be going over 10 myths that you are probably believing that if we can overcome these limiting beliefs, we can get back on track with decluttering. So what do you say? Grab that notebook and pen and let's dive into today's episode. Hey there, Mama. Are you tired of all the stuff crowding your home, calendar, and mind? Do you wish you could say goodbye to the endless to-do list running around in your head? Want to declutter but don't know where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to Moms Overcoming Overwhelm, where you will find proven and practical solutions to declutter your home, head, and heart. Hi, I'm Emily, a wife, boy mom, and simplicity seeker. I struggled to get pregnant and felt overwhelmed until I discovered decluttering could create the physical and emotional space I needed to become a mom. Now, 2 kids later, I've transformed my life and motherhood by developing simple systems around decluttering, capsule wardrobes, kid stuff, cleaning and tidying, meal planning, time management, and more, and I can't wait to share them with you. If you're ready to reclaim the time and energy you crave, be present with your kids, and finally enjoy the life and motherhood you so deserve, let's kick overwhelm to the curb, shall we? Grab your lukewarm coffee, your notebook and pen, and clear off some counter space. Let's do this. Today's featured review is from AJE85, and it starts, excellent advice for parents. Emily does a great job giving tangible suggestions on how to manage stuff, time, etc. I really appreciate the varying length of her podcasts, as sometimes I only have a couple minutes in the car, and other times I have longer to listen. Well, thank you so much for this review, and if you have been listening to a couple episodes now or more, and you haven't left a review, it is the best way to thank me for all of this content, and I can't believe that we're on episode 129 already. It's crazy to think about. And so if you have an Apple product, either an iPhone or an iPad, and can get into Apple Podcasts, go ahead, find my show, scroll down to write a review. It would mean the world to me. And I am going to be doing a giveaway sometime in the summer, a little review party giveaway. And so be on the lookout for that. Okay, we are going to dive into these 10 myths. These are things that I hear all the time from people in the Facebook group and also my clients, and I hope that this will be an encouragement to you. And number 1 is, of course, I don't know where to start. Well, yes, we hear this a lot because there is a feeling of overwhelm when there's so many things that require our attention. And in episode 5, I talk about my recommendation of where to start, which is your car. We want to start in the most unemotional areas because decluttering is decision making, and we want to start with the easiest decisions first. So I recommend your car, the bathroom, the refrigerator. We want to make it so easy you can't say no, and then once you're able to declutter in those areas for short spurts of time, then you start to build momentum. And every time we have a decluttering challenge in the Facebook group, which we have about every other week, I always recommend that if people are starting this journey at the beginning, that they start in those unemotional areas, because usually you could tackle your car or a medicine cabinet or part of your fridge in 10 to 15 minutes, which brings us to myth number 2, I don't have the time. Now, I don't have the time is an excuse that we can use for a lot of things, or a myth that we can believe. But one thing I want to share with you from my own personal experience of being on this journey for almost 10 years now is that the return on investment for your time decluttering is at least tenfold the time that you're putting in. And so we always will be prioritizing what matters and making space and time for that. So we have to really understand what the benefits are of a clutter-free home that we want for our own lives. So maybe that is more peace. Maybe that's more time to spend with our family. Maybe it's just not feeling that anxiety and overwhelm. So you have to decide what a clutter-free home means to you, and then be able to put aside these short pockets of time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time, and understand that return on investment is going to be huge. And I do have episode number 4, where we talk about why it's hard to find the time to declutter, because the longer that we own something, the more it means to us. So again, we want to start with that easy, unemotional stuff first in small chunks and go from there. Myth number 3 is it's too hard to decide what to keep and what to let go of, so I won't even start. And as I mentioned, decluttering is decision making, and supposedly we make 35,000 decisions a day. So what unnecessary decisions can we remove in order to free up emotional and mental space for decluttering? We talk about this in episode 19. So maybe for a season, you're going to decide that you have the same breakfast every day, or you do theme nights for dinner, or you have a limited capsule wardrobe, and that will free up more time and energy so that you can focus on maybe some of those more difficult decluttering decisions when you get past the unemotional and easier decisions. Myth number 4 is I feel guilty letting go of things. Now, guilt can come from a variety of reasons. It could be sentimental items, which I talk about in episode 11. It could be family pressure, whether overt or perceived, that makes you want to hold on to family heirlooms. Talk about this in episode 14. But what we need to realize is that you don't necessarily have to let go of anything. Now, of course, I recommend that the things are broken or you no longer need them, or, any of these things that you would declutter them or maybe throw them away. But in episode 48, we talk about the out of sight, out of mind bin, which is really delayed decision making. So if you're feeling guilty for whatever reason letting go of things, you can use that out of sight, out of mind bin as a method of delaying the decision making so that you can experiment with what life feels like without it, and then decide whether that item is a blessing or a burden to you. So I definitely check out that episode. Myth number 5 is I don't want things to end up in a landfill, so it's better that I just hold on to them. Now, as we know from episode 8, as well as episode 91, all about statistics about clutter, stuff in our home, excess stuff in our home is contributing to our overwhelm, our anxiety, our stress. It's negatively impacting our health. So while I understand that we don't want things to end up in a landfill, we don't want to be wasteful, it is impacting our health in our home. So my recommendation is to let it go and then be more intentional about what is coming into our home going forward. So the other piece of this decluttering journey is understanding and being more mindful about what is coming in, and that will help us prevent things from getting into the landfill that we don't want. Myth number 6 is I haven't gotten my money's worth out of this yet, so I'm going to hold on to it and use it someday. So this is definitely an aspirational thing that, the tags are still on this dress, so I'm going to wear it someday. And we talk about aspirational clutter in episode 10. But also there are these 2 effects. One is the endowment effect, which means we give something more value simply because we own it. And then also the mere exposure effect, which is that we give things more value because we are regularly exposed to them. We talk about this in episode 9. So just sort of recognizing that when you pay the money, you've paid the money, and you don't have to keep paying with your time, your energy, maintaining it, guilt about the fact that you haven't used it. So there's a lot of that emotional and mental weight and cost that we don't always think about, and hopefully that'll make it easier to let go. Myth number 7, my family isn't on board, so it's too hard to maintain a clutter-free home because I'm the only one that cares about it. We've all felt like this at some point, right? And in episode 16, I talk about how you can get your spouse on board, episode 18 about getting kids on board, But the point is that if you recognize how this is impacting you, you start with yourself, you start with your own stuff. You hopefully have a very candid, honest conversation with your spouse and explain how all of this is impacting you. And that will hopefully help them understand, yes, this is important for our family and for our family's health. So it is possible to get family members on board, but of course we want to start with ourselves and never give up. I'm almost 10 years into this journey, and now things are a lot easier than perhaps they were at the beginning. It's all my kids have ever known. My husband is very good about giving me stuff to donate, so it is possible, but we always want to start with ourselves first. Myth number 8, I'm going to use this someday. I just haven't had time for it yet. So this kind of goes back to our other myth in regards to getting your money's worth. Myth number 6, but this is definitely aspirational clutter. Perhaps it's about hobby things or equipment or those types of things. And there is a difference between keeping something just in case versus just for when. Just for when means I have skiing equipment because I go skiing in the winter, so it has a specific time that I'm using it. Just in case is maybe someday I could possibly use this. So we need to really be honest with ourselves about what that aspirational future is and whether it makes sense to let something go so that someone else can enjoy it. And I talk about this more in episode 15. Myth number 9 is I have the space for it in my home, so we might as well keep it instead of decluttering. Now, episode 6 is foundational to everything I teach. It's about artificial boundaries, otherwise known as the container concept, a term coined by Dana K. White. But we want to put artificial boundaries around each category of things based upon how important they are to us, not how much space we have. And in episode 30, we talk about our capacity and why it's very important to make decisions about what we keep in our home and also how we spend our time based upon our capacity to manage it, not how much space that we have. And finally, myth number 10, I'm just not an organized person, so it's okay to live this way. That is definitely a limiting belief because organization, like so many other things, is a learned skill. And I am happy to help you flex those decluttering and organization muscles, definitely in the group. I also, of course, have my coaching, either in person or virtual. You can go to simplebyemmy.com/coaching for more about that. But I always like to think about the impact on my kids and asking myself, what is a cluttered home teaching my kids? And what memories are they having in my home if it's messy and cluttered and I'm always looking for things or never have time for them? And what would decluttering and simplifying teach them? In episode 44, I go over 8 values that decluttering teaches our kids. And so I like to think about it that way because we are able to make changes. It isn't that we have this fixed mindset about who we are, but we have the growth mindset about how we can change. And if you're still feeling stuck, you can check out episode 61 with 5 mindset questions to ask yourself to help you get unstuck on this decluttering journey. So I hope that this episode was helpful to help you overcome some of these limiting beliefs, to stop believing some of these myths. And on Thursday, we're going to be talking to Desiree Endries from the Minimalish podcast. This will be her second appearance on the podcast. And we're going to talk about making minimalism your own and the 4 pillars of minimalism and how an overwhelmed mom can incorporate them into her daily life. So I can't wait to see you on Thursday. Bye for now. If you like today's podcast, here's what you can do. Just take 30 seconds to leave me a review. I know you're a busy mama. You're overwhelmed, in fact, but 30 seconds of your day makes such an impact. I'll be blessed by your words. They'll definitely make my day. And who knows, you might be entered for this month's giveaway. In Apple Podcasts, scroll down to write a review. Thanks so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you.